Welcome to today's video on how emotional eating patterns actually start. How do we actually develop these habits, these behaviors that cause us to be triggered to reach for chocolate or extra sugars or cookies or pastas or breads or whatever it is, even alcohol? How do these emotional connections, when we are feeling lonely, sad, in need of reward or punishment, whatever it is, how do these programs actually start? And I like to call it Grandma's Cookie Cuddle. If you think about a child, a very young child, and perhaps she's being babysat or he's being babysat by grandma, and he's already feeling a little unsure because it might be the first time he's been babysat because mum and dad have to go to work. And the child falls over and scrapes the knee. There's blood, so obviously it's the first time that the child has perhaps seen blood, especially blood on themselves. There's a lot of distress that goes on in the brain. There's the pain in the knee, there's the shock of the blood, there's lots of stuff going on. Missing mum and dad, all of that emotion is intermingled. Grandma picks up the baby and gives the baby a hug and a cookie all at the same time. And unfortunately, our amazing brain latches onto the chemical response that the child is feeling as the child feels that amazing warmth and hug from grandma and the sugar from the cookie or the biscuit or whatever the child's been given. Ice cream, icy pole, whatever it is. So all of a sudden, the brain assumes the chemical response is actually what's made it feel better. So the hit of sugar, the release of neurochemicals that are released as a result of the sugar, the calming down of the system that we know, looking back on it, is actually about grandma's hug, but in fact the brain assumes it was the sugar. So then later on in life, anytime we're emotionally distraught, in fear of rejection, loss of love, loss of connection, anytime we're in pain or stressed, we build patterns around the emotional connection to food, and that food ends up developing into other habits later on in life. Perhaps that hand-to-mouth experience can be turned towards alcohol or towards cigarettes or other habits as well that are all emotionally connected. So whether it's sugars and breads and cakes and that type of sweet habit and addiction, or whether it's starchy carbs or salt and savory, whatever it is, fried foods, takeaway foods, etc., it's responding to the cravings, or responding to an urge for some form of comfort that was previously experienced, and the part of the brain that whose role it is to keep us alive and safe obviously triggers those cravings for those foods anytime that it thinks we are in distress in the future, or anytime the similar trigger happens for seeking the same emotional response. And up to this stage, that food has always satisfied that emotional response. Unfortunately, when we do overeat those foods, there's usually another response, which is guilt, shame, and blame. And oh my God, what does that part of the brain do when we are experiencing stress responses? And guilt, shame, and blame is another stress response. It stimulates more cravings for the solution, and it's that vicious cycle. So I hope that explains how it all happens. Obviously, that's a very simple way to look at it. But what I want you to do is, based on the original video with Trisha's story and the battle in the head that she had with trying to overcome the emotional addictions to those foods and to the gaining and losing of weight and the yo-yo effect, any particular ahas that you've received from that video, and of course this video, if there's any particular mood foods that you're more likely to reach for. Some people reach for chocolate and sweets when they're lonely or upset or in need of comfort. Other people reach for starchy carbs or sweet or savory if they're busy and tired and can't be bothered. They'll look for the takeaways or the savories. Or if some people do sweet only when they're out socializing. If somebody's having a dessert, they get inspired to have a dessert as well because the brain likes the connection with other people. So whatever it is, just answer below if there's any particular ahas or any particular mood foods that you respond to. And just have a think about it. Take a few minutes to really think about what are the specific triggers, and are there specific foods that you reach for in specific moods. And we look forward to speaking to you in the next video. In the meantime, any questions, please feel free to drop us a line, info@thepotentialist.com. Be your potential. See you soon.